Okay. All right, we are officially recording, and today we are going to be doing Zoom, and somebody is sharing their screen. Let me take, if you're sharing your screen, if you could stop the share for now, please. Somebody's there sharing their screen. There we go. So we are officially kicking this thing off. We are doing DISC. This is something that you guys have been asking for me to do for some time. And now that we have the Knolly Success Coaching Group, which was fantastic this morning, hopefully some of you guys were on the Knolly Success Coaching call. If you weren't, go back and check it out. We talked about manifesting your reality. Very, very critical practice. Check these out. These were freshly clipped from our garden just this morning. Josie likes growing stuff like this in our backyard. So these are Easter lilies. They came out a little bit late this year. So anyway, let's jump in, because today we're talking DISC, guys. We're kind of, we're in this weird, funky time during COVID. I'll timestamp the video for those of you guys watching 2 or 3 or 4 years later. Yes, we're in the middle of COVID. And some people are doing very well, and some people aren't doing that well. I'm talking financially. Some people were impacted health-wise with this thing, and we do see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. That's kind of the good news. But some of you guys are blowing and going. Let me show you. Let me just share my screen real quick. I want to show you a couple things. So this is who, last time we did our DISC profiling, we did Charles Lee, that's what we just talking about. We had Melinda, Sharonda, and Patty Lynn. And what I like to do with these is after we're finished with them, after we finish the training session, I like to put the timestamps there on YouTube, because that way all you have to do is go straight into YouTube on the video, and you click on the timestamp. I don't know if you guys knew this, but you click on the timestamp. Let me show you. It goes right to that portion of the video. So right now, if I say, okay, I want to see, you have to go to the description, and then I could say, I want to see Melinda. So I click that. So it takes us right to that portion of the video. So that's the cool thing about being able to timestamp these videos on YouTube. So just so you guys know that. When you guys came into the call, you're all muted. So in order to unmute yourself, you just have to hit the microphone that's in the lower left corner of the nav bar if you want to talk, because I'm going to start reviewing some of you guys. I know, let me see. Let me look at this again one last time. Yeah, I know Pamela's been itching to get hers done. So if Pamela's on, I'm not sure if you're here yet, Pamela, but yes. Okay. She says she's on. So, and then I saw another one. Let me see if there's another one of you guys out there. Christy, you're saying that you think yours and Charles is very close. Yeah. Christy says the call this morning was really good. Very awesome. By the way, let me share a couple things with you before we get into today's call. We've got a couple new masters. So I always want to acknowledge you guys when you're new to the group. If I never acknowledged you, I probably did at some point, but if I didn't, I'm sorry. But we do have a couple of new people. Let me just share with you. You can't see my screen, but I'm just going to read them off. So we've got Bryant Matus. He's joined us, and Bryant is a Facebook expert. So he's got a whole program that I'm helping him to launch, something like, success with lead gen, something like that. So he's still putting all that together. That's going to be phenomenal. Keisha Whitehead. By the way, Mina brought Bryant on. So thank you, Mina. Keisha Whitehead, Sharonda Bynum brought Keisha to our group. Lindy Slow, and Lindy was brought by Will Gilliam. And then we've got Wendell Stewart, and he was brought in by Joseph Font, our member as well. So I got to tell you guys, I mean, you guys are doing phenomenal. We actually, when you look at the production, you guys are producing more. This is the biggest production month in the last 6 months. Let me say it that way. This is the biggest month for production for Mentorship Masters in the last 6 months. So some of you guys, I know it doesn't feel that way. And some of you guys feel it feels like Christmas. Let me show you. Let me go back so I can share my screen. I want to show you this. For those of you that weren't on the call this morning, this is from Nick. Look what Nick says. He says, this is Nick Sirachunchin. He's one of our Mentorship Masters. And Nick is not super big into technology. Okay, he's not in love with technology, so he doesn't really use a lot of technology. He doesn't use fancy websites or Facebook or any of those things. And here's what he said. He said, let's do it. That would be great. He says, went from 40K in debt, moving back close to where I moved away from, to closing 85 GCI. Look at this, from 430 to 525. Okay, so those of you that are new in real estate, what he just said there is that he's going to be earning $85,000 in commissions in 25 days. Okay, so from 430 to 525, he's got 85,000 in commissions that he's going to be earning. Okay, and that's with him moving back home to a city that he left years ago. Nobody really remembers him from when he was there. So he's had to start all over from scratch. And he started doing some very specific things, and he's been getting results. Okay. And he says, showing a golf course today and listing a condo at the end of the week. And I told him, man, you're in the zone, bro. So not everybody's doing bad, guys. Nick is doing phenomenal. He's almost going to pocket $100,000. Okay. And it wasn't when Nick joined us in November, he wasn't doing any production. He had nothing on the radar. He had nothing in sight. He had no future deals. He didn't have anything in December, nothing in January. And then finally he was like, man, I got to get serious about doing this. And he read this book. Let me see if I have it. First of all, he booked a flow consultation with Artemis, because he'd been talking with me and I've been telling him, hey, do the 2. So he got serious about doing the 2 every single day. He read this book right here called Feel Free to Prosper. He started going through the book, doing the things that the book says to do. He hired Artemis for several consultations. And now, it took him 90 days, but 90 days ago, he didn't have anything on the books. That's what I want, the point I'm trying to make. Nothing. Now he's going to pocket about $100,000, okay? Because he's got further deals that are coming even after the next 25 days. So I'm going to interview him. He's going to share with us what he's doing, how he's doing it. But one of the things that he shared with me, and I asked him, I said, now, Nick, the things that you're specifically doing, are they specifically leading to the results? And he said, no. And I said, that's exactly what I knew. Because the way the universe works, a lot of people haven't figured this out yet, is that when you do X, so most people think X plus Y equals Z. And that's not how the universe works. It takes people a long time before they really figure out that the universe itself is not linear, okay? In other words, we don't live in a linear universe. So when you do X, okay, when you do that thing, like I say, do the 2 every day, when you put in that work, the result will come from over here. Like I've been doing all these YouTube videos, and then all of a sudden I get hit up by this A&E TV show that doesn't even know I have a YouTube channel. It's not like it's related, like, oh, this guy's on YouTube, so we're going to feature him in 2 episodes on A&E. No, it didn't happen that way. They just happened. I mean, this is what people say, oh, it's just a coincidence. It weren't no coincidence, okay? I started doing YouTube years ago, and then it prepared me for what God had in store for me. So Nick will be sharing with you what he's doing, and so we can all copy his success. And that says, Nick said he's walking into a new client he got 2 days ago, $700,000 listing. He's walking in. In fact, the reason Nick called me this weekend is because he has a referral for Las Vegas. So I put him in touch with Annette, who's our Las Vegas member. And so that she could help him with that. That's incredible. All right, so let's get into why you guys are here. So you have to understand, you have to know yourself. And one of the tools that we use, now Artemis and I have started using Wealth Dynamics. It's far superior to the disc, okay? But the Wealth Dynamics, you know, it comes with a little cost to it. You do a flow consultation. It's like $300, $297. The test itself is $100 if you just do that. But this is something that you know, it's fairly, the disc is something that's fairly universal. It's pretty easy to understand and read and get to know. And then the Wealth Dynamics later on is more advanced. So first, we're going to do Pamela Huley, and she shared hers with me. Let me see. So here's Pamela Huley. Here's her disc. Okay, so Pamela, you are a DI. Okay, let's see. It's going to erase my whiteboard. Yeah, so you're a DI, and you've got your S and C is pretty much the same, but your D is very, very projected, and your I is leading. So, okay, so basically, you would be what we call a DI, okay, or some people write it as DI, okay? So a DI is a classic mega agent, okay? Mega producer. A DI is going to be someone like, usually these are your CEOs. These are going to be presidents of companies. They're going to be leaders, influencers. Look at her smiling. I see you smiling, Pamela. So here's what the D, and it's interesting, Pamela, because your D, let me go back and look at that. So your D is just a little bit ahead of your I, but your I is almost there, okay, almost caught up to it. So a person with a high D is very direct. They're a driver. They're a type A, what we call type A personality. They're some people would have a hard time keeping up with them. They're very when they get into their zone, these people are very, very competitive. They like to compete. They like us to put the numbers up on the board so they could see who they need to knock down. And you know, so the only time that a D would not be this way is if they cover their greatness, okay, or should I say put a veil on their greatness. And you'll see this sometimes, Pamela, with females, okay, with women. Because women are great, and a lot of lackluster and sorry guys that have been running this planet for a long time have, you know, sadly made the female, not everybody, but I'm just saying in general, they've made the female to, you know, be projected as less than, when in fact, Scripture says that we're all equal, okay? And the woman is, in my view, far more capable of leadership than a guy in many areas, okay? I mean, we won't even go there, okay? But most of my bosses have been female, have been women. In my last, in pretty much almost all jobs that I've had, except for a couple, they've been women CEOs. And what's happened, or women leaders. And so sometimes the woman feels like, wait a minute, and if I show myself to be too much D, then I'm coming across maybe too masculine. But it's just a reality of your personality profile. So you have to be you, okay? You have to be you. So so this is going to be a person that's very assertive, very sure of themselves, very, you know, once they know, once they've done the work to figure out who they are, they just steamroll, okay? And they lead the charge. Now the I is a very friendly person, very warm, very friendly, likes to be the life of the party, likes to go to parties, likes to be out front, likes to, has a good social life, likes to be social, okay? And oftentimes a DI will marry the opposite of them. And so the person that they end up with is a person that really doesn't maybe like to go out much, maybe is very like a hermit to themselves and so on like that. And so the challenge for the DI is they're gonna be challenged to kind of come into their own and be their own person, okay? To be their own person. Pamela, were you talking? You're muted. I didn't know. Okay, yeah. What were you saying?
Talking, but I'm not talking.
Oh, you're just throwing words out there into the universe. Is that it? And you know, I'm not sure Larry what his profile. Larry is right.
Yes, so that's actually I was asking him to go get his profile.
Oh, to get his profile. Okay, good.
Because I don't remember what his was.
Yeah, it's not uncommon that a person that like for me, I don't have any D. Okay, so a person like me has a severe handicap in the marketplace or in the business world because we have to learn how to do things differently. A D just shows up and just runs things. But see, a D has to know, you know, like as it's been said, know thyself. So a D will run 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction. And until they're course corrected, they'll just keep running until they burn out, you know, because they're uniquely wired to do that. They're uniquely wired to just go, you know, and to drive. Have you been a mom in the past, Pamela? Okay. So
yes, I have one adult daughter.
Okay. So depending on you know how that went, sometimes sometimes when you become a mom, the D goes way down. I mean, actually, the D can show up as a mom too, big time. Actually, you can put the hammer down pretty good, and maybe you would have shown up, depending on how your husband's profile, as more of the disciplinarian. But you've got that jokester side, you've got that fun side too. So you know, you know how to be very business oriented, but you also know how to let it loose and have a good time and have fun as well. You know, we call that the little bit of the wild side too. You know, so you know, DI is what we would consider if you were to bet, like if I was to pick somebody from my team and say, yeah, I want him, I don't want that guy, yeah, I want that gal. This would be the sure pick for a real estate team, because now the downside of a DI picking for a real estate team is that the DI eventually will want to do things on their own because they're very independent. And once they figure out how to do it, they don't feel like they really need the team. Okay. So yeah, the DI is a classic success profile for a real estate agent. Okay. Now here's the downside of a DI. And when I saw your SC, the chart that you showed me was a little bit difficult for me to read because it doesn't show percentages, which I always prefer. It's just a graph, so it's hard for me to know, like, okay, what percentages are your S and C? But if you know, it looks like your S and C is low, so that means you shouldn't really be doing any paperwork. You shouldn't be doing anything that's related to administrative type stuff. Okay, let me show you guys what I'm talking about. I think this will be important for you to see this. And I'm going to show you my screen in a minute, but let me see if I can find the document that I want to pull up. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I've got my procedures, policies and procedures manual. We're actually in the process of tweaking this, and it's going to take me some time to do it, so I won't have this available for a while for you guys. I do have the original version of it out there, but what I'm doing now is I'm actually color coding my the duties. So if you look at this, Pamela, for example, I've got a property assistant and a team admin that work in my retail sales, and on my short sales, I've got those color coded as well. I've got a short sale assistant that works in those. So when you look at everything in blue, okay, these are the things that you shouldn't be doing, Pamela. Okay, drawing up listing documents, collecting homework from the seller, collecting the survey, making sure that the homeowner prep is done, writing up property descriptions, making that weekly call. Now the weekly call you could do because you're an I, but like any of this contract to close stuff, you really shouldn't be doing that. Okay, inputting the property to MLS, photos, uploading documents, anything that has to do anything with paperwork or anything like that is something that you really should be hands off. Okay, a DI should just show up, perform, and then they take off their cape like James Brown. Somebody comes and gets your cape, and that's it. You show up. Does that make sense?
It does, and I love it because I hate doing all those things.
Yeah, you hate it because it's not in your wheelhouse. It's not in your genius.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's where you would hire somebody like Christy, who is in our group that does contract to close, and she just handles all that for you. And it's well worth it.
Excellent.
You charge an admin fee on every listing. Okay, in California, you guys are pretty used to taking 3.5% on a listing. And that covers the cost of any admin that you would bring on. So cool. Thank you for playing along with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Was that good? Was it helpful?
That was amazing.
Any questions?
No questions for me, except because you're absolutely right. The part about showing up, do the job, and leaving, I love that part. I don't want
you're basically a diva. Prep. You're a diva. Yeah.
Don't tell my husband that.
Yeah. If he finds his, flashing up for me if you get a chance. That'd be interesting to see.
Okay, I will. He's looking for it now.
Okay. So thank you, Pamela. I'm going to go to Lucas. Lucas is next up. And if any of you guys, Shandilyn says she emailed me hers. Okay, cool. So I'll look for yours, Shandilyn, also. Okay. Cool. Okay, I'm just reading through these comments here. Okay, so let's go to Lucas real quick. Let me share my screen. Lucas is in the house. What's up, Lucas? Lucas and I go back probably to 2016. He was with Berkshire Hathaway, maybe not then, but he had been consuming my content, buying my toolkit and everything like that. And he was actually one of the very first mentorship masters to join Mentorship Masters. And he has the unique advantage of living in my city in Austin. Now, nobody quite has the advantage like Karen Mendieta, who's on the call right now. She lives 2 doors down from me. Okay. Now that let the enviers catch that one. She lives like literally 2 doors down. But Lucas lives right here in South Austin, near where I live. And when he was ready to join Mentorship Masters, he came over to my house to look me in the eye to see if this was really something that he wanted to do. So we're happy to have him. Okay, let me share my screen. And so we can all see Lucas's. Okay, here we go. So now these are really good because, by the way, there's not a disc profile that's better than another. But for me, just interpreting these are really good because, see, I can see that Lucas has 18% compliance and his I is at 11%. Okay, so we can kind of rule those out. What that means is if he has to pull up his C, he can pull it up a little. His I is going to be very difficult to pull up. So Lucas is what we call a DS. Okay, a DS. All right. So, and his D and his S are pretty close. I mean, 36 and 35 for that. Okay. So a DS. So let's put that up here. DS. And so what Lucas doesn't have is the C, and he doesn't have the I. Now, so up here, the D, again, we talked about the D already. Pamela has the D. It's a person that's very assertive, very dominant. Now, keep in mind, guys, that when you look at your profile and you look at how I describe the profile, or if you have your cheat sheet and you look at, what's described there, oftentimes in childhood, and because I don't know any of your all's childhood really, but some of these things can be sort of beaten out of you. Okay, so in other words, a person that may be a high I might show up in the world as a C, because they were abused as a child, or they might have some child abuse, or they might have some trauma that occurred, or they might even have, a divorce. Anything could have happened to where it, and by the way, I'm not speaking this on Lucas, I'm just saying in general, any of you guys watching this and you're looking and you're saying, okay, well, that's kind of, that is kind of me, but not quite. What it is that when you take the DISC profile, by the way, when you take the assessment itself, you have to be very, very, very honest, and you have to be very unbiased. That's the reason why whenever I take any profile test, I have my wife with me, because, she's able to see a side of me that I don't see that way, as clearly. And so if I'm really stuck on one, like, okay, the question could go here or there, then I ask her and she gets it right away. She's like, no, that's you all the way, right? So, so you are a driver, Lucas. So, you're a D, you're a corporate man, a professional, and all that. But then you've got the S. So the S is the steadiness. That's a slow and steady. You would be the type, a DS would be the type of person that could have the same meal every day of the week. Okay, for example, I had a guy that worked for me named Joe Laredo, and he had on his desk, he had a little chart: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it told you where he was going to eat each day. He didn't really have any variety. He had he didn't want to be creative. Because the I is going to be more your creativity and all that. He didn't even want to go there. He didn't want to think about it. What day is it? Oh, it's Wednesday. Today's Jason's Deli. That was it. And when he went, he had the same meal that he knew was going to be a winner for him. So whenever you look at this, don't think of it as in terms of right or wrong. It's just an isness. It is. It's who you are. Okay. And so when you take your real estate career, for example, Lucas, for you're going to have a difficult time dealing with people. Okay, because your I is 11%. So to get you excited about something, you can get excited, but you're going to show excitement in a way that's very different from the way other people might perceive what excitement might look like. Okay, you're going to be more mechanical, more robotic, more. I was going to say more probably systematic in the way that you do things. You like routine, but you also have that D that means that, like, this would make an excellent manager. Excelente manager. Okay. And so what we find, like, for example, when Lance Loken, who sells about 100 homes a month, let me say it again, 100 homes a month. Yeah, I didn't stutter on that. He sells about over 1,000 homes a year. When Lance Loken found out that he didn't have any I, he didn't try to pretend he had it. He didn't try to get it. He didn't try to bring it up. He just dropped it. Okay. He doesn't like being around people, and that's fine. So what he did was he got into his managerial role, and he basically manages people that do everything at the Lance Loken Group. Okay. So he doesn't interface with the public at all because he's not a people person. So Lucas, you are not a people person. Okay. Now you may tolerate being around people, and you may find it okay to be around people, but you definitely don't want to be at a big crowd or a big event or anything like that you might go, but you're not going to feel comfortable. Okay. You're going to feel more comfortable in a predictable environment where you have some control, like you're able to exercise some amount of leadership, if you will. Okay. So that's you. I mean, you're a DS. And so, you're a manager. What I would say is, for example, when you're lead generating, by the way, one of the most important, it's like, why do we need to know this? Well, number one, you need to know who you are because it gives you a better understanding of yourself, and it gives you more license to forgive yourself, okay? Because if you go around like, well, how come I'm not like that girl? Or how come I'm not like this dude? That's not the way to be. It's like you are you, and you just do you. Also, when you're doing your lead generation, when you know your personality profile, now all of a sudden you can say, I'm definitely not going to do this one. Number 11, I ain't going to do that. I guarantee you I won't do that. But I will be able to do number so-and-so, right? So for you, Lucas, doing like probate, doing a part of real estate where you don't have to interface as much with the public, like like REO, like short sales, foreclosures, probate, divorce sales, things like that, where you can work more on a referral basis, because your approach is very clinical. Okay, so when you meet people, you're not going to bowl them over with enthusiasm. Okay, you're going to be more of a clinical approach. So if I was going to see you as a doctor, I would love seeing you, because I know, number one, you're going to shoot straight, you're going to tell me the truth, and you're not going to be too overly optimistic. You're going to be even kiltered. If I've got something wrong with me, you're going to tell me, okay? You're going to be nice about it, but you're not going to be. I mean, it's not like you're a jerk, okay? That now, if you took this all the way out, you could become a jerk, actually, when you look at it. So every profile, let me just say this: every profile has its extremes on both ends, okay? So if you go one way or the other way too extreme, then yeah, you can kind of bow out the elasticity of that profile too much, if you will. So you're going to feel more comfortable, though, Lucas, in more of a role where you can be in control, but also that is very even kiltered and has a rigidity to it. Okay, there's a daily rigidity. So I feel like once you get in the groove. By the way, this person right here, I would put them straight to a niche. I would bypass a lot of stuff that I teach, because this is a niche person. Anybody that doesn't really like to be around people is going to have to avoid a lot of the training that is out there for real estate. Okay, because most of the tactics that are taught in real estate are taught by DIs or IDs, even worse for you. If you're learning anything from an I, Lucas, which I am, by the way, I'm an I, you need to run. Okay. So what I do, that's why I teach a variety of things, and I tell you, pick what resonates with you. That makes sense. Do you have any questions on this, Lucas? Pretty good. I can see your head moving, but I can't hear you. Are you typing? Oh, Lucas says subdued. Oh, was that? Yeah. Yeah, that's and that's just so Annette says, I love Jason's Deli. There you go, Annette. All right. Hey, we're going to be out in Vegas. Don't forget. For those of you guys that don't know, we do have shareholders. I need to say this. We have shareholders for EXP next week. Okay, next week. It's going to be from Wednesday through Friday, and it's going to be in the world. Okay, and it's going to be phenomenal. I mean, like, they set it up. They have a vendor hall where you're physically going to be able to walk from booth to booth. I mean, it's nuts. They were just giving us a preview of it this morning. I was meeting with the president of the company. Dave Kennord was showing us that. So, and then we're going to be in Vegas in November. Okay, in November. So Lucas says, thank you. Very nice to know this. Okay, good. So a lot of, for you, Lucas, when you go through this book, you're going to see that a lot of these are not going to resonate with you. By all means, do not do them. Okay, because a DS only needs to find one or two niches, maybe just one, and they're set for life. Once you can find your sweet spot, you're set. Okay, but don't try to be out there like every other agent, because you can't be like other agents, because you're not like other agents that are DIs. Most people that are attracted to this profession are DIs, which I'm not either. So, okay, so let's look at Shandilyn. We're going to look at yours, and I'm opening yours up in. Okay, here we go. So I'm opening yours in. These are fun, aren't they, guys? These are fun to look at. So, oh, let me write down for my purposes. Okay, so we got 2 high Ds that we started off with. Let's see what Shandilyn is. Okay, Shandilyn Shavette. Okay, so you're an SI. All right. Okay. And then your D is a 7%. Okay, let me write this down here. Your D, 7%. In fact, so everybody get this. Let me just stop. So you're 40. Hold on. You're an SI. Okay, 40 and 30. Okay. And then your C is 23. Okay, cool. That's good. Okay. Okay. So looking at your Shandilyn, so your S is you lead with your S. Okay, that's what we're just talking about with Lucas. Your steadiness. You like things predictable. You don't really like surprises. Now, interestingly enough, what I found is that, because I'm an ISC, so I have a lot of S and C. My S and C are pretty much equal, and then my I is very high. Actually, my I is higher than anything else. But this is also a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde, because the I likes surprises and likes, change and different things and different scenarios and being around people, but the S not so much. Okay, so it depends on how you feel that day or how you flip it. So if you're having a very S type day or an S experience, then you can actually completely cocoon and feel very comfortable. But at some point, you'll have to come out of the cocoon and get around people for a little while till you've had your fill, and then you can go back to your S. Okay. Now the challenge with your profile and mine is that your D is very low. Okay, so that means you don't have any. You're not a driver. You don't have. I was going to say you don't have any moxie, but you definitely have moxie, because the I gives you that. But you don't have that that oomph. Like you don't take charge. Okay. Not only do you not take charge, but you can't take charge. That's not in your profile. Taking charge is not something that you can really do. If you ask a D what they want for dinner, anything's okay with them. It's like, hey, what do you want for dinner? You pick tonight. Like, I don't really care. It doesn't, and people think that we're just saying that because we want to be polite, but we really don't care. I mean, we don't care. And so, and even the idea, so sometimes, like in my situation, I'll throw something out just because I've been asked, but I could care less if that's what it ultimately ends up being. Okay. So that is a blessing, but it's also on the other side. In other words, the blessing of it is the fact that you get to be in a surrendered state. And that is the ultimate state that we want to be in, surrendered. If somebody says, hey, let's stop for ice cream, you're like, cool, let's stop but you're not committed. Okay. This is the ultimate state for everyone. So if we happen to stop for ice cream, cool, I'm good. But then if something changes and we don't get to the ice cream, I'm good with that too. That's fine. So that's the good part about your profile, the way it is already. But with the D, okay, being so low, when it comes to you cannot approach your clients like most realtors can. Okay, like you can't approach them even like Lucas. Now the good thing is that your eye is pretty high. You got 30%, so you can just push that to the forefront and just be nice, and they love you and they think you're so sweet and kind, and so you win them over that way. Okay, but like Pamela, she doesn't really have to do that. She just comes in and says, "Look, this is what we're going to do with your house. You need to sign right here." She can come mafia style, whereas that wouldn't completely be uncomfortable for you. Like that would be totally off your radar to do that. The advantage of a DI of somebody like Pamela, if she didn't have the eye, or if her eye was lower, she could just go do a listing appointment and be done in 15 minutes. Okay, but somebody that has a lot of eye, that's going to be a 1 hour or longer. And since you have a lot of eye, Pamela, if it's somebody you really like, you could probably take longer. Lucas could do a listing appointment and he's good. 15 minutes, he's good. He doesn't really need to hang out and chit chat and get to know you and know your dog's name and all that. He could care less about what your dog's name is or where you went. I have a nephew that's anyway. We're on you, Shandilyn. So I digress. So the S is going to be very steady. You like things predictable. You like things to kind of stay the way you can calculate them. Okay. Now here's what I would challenge you to do. If you haven't already, begin to embrace spontaneity. Okay. Begin to embrace spontaneity. Begin to change your routine. Do something different. Okay. Because if I'm guessing you right, you probably have the same routine every day. Until you change the routine, then you do that the same every day. Okay. So just change it up. So if you normally get up and take a shower and brush your teeth, then and then go read a book, or then you do whatever your routine is, do it in reverse. Go do a shower last, or brush your teeth after you've done some other things. Because for the S, you need to bring that in to just to give you more challenge. Okay. Also, because you don't have D, you're not going to like doing cold calls. You're not going to like doing door knocking. You're not going to like doing anything that puts you in a vulnerable position. Okay. And your I is a people pleaser. Okay. So you don't like your feelings hurt. You don't like, you just don't want to put yourself out there that way. Okay. So you're going to have to protect yourself. Either feel more comfortable. Like you don't like rejection, for example. So when you go through the book, you just say, look, what do I feel comfortable with? Okay. So, an SI, for example, if an SI was working expireds, an SI would never feel comfortable cold calling people. Now they could do it, but it'd be like torture. And it probably only lasts for 3 days, and then they might want to quit the real estate business if you have them do it too long. And see, that's the problem with a lot of these teams is they hire people or they bring people on and they have everybody do it the same way. And that's not how it works. So if an SI is doing, like Shandilyn, if you're doing expireds, you'll feel more comfortable doing postcards and letters and like having a routine every day. You send out so many postcards or you send out so many letters, or you would feel more comfortable automating the process. And then when somebody contacts you, you're more than ready to talk to them. You love talking to them if they contact you first, but you don't want to be the initiator of the conversation. So that's the SI right there. So hopefully, Shandilyn, that's been helpful. Let me see. I don't see you, Shandilyn. I don't hear you. So hopefully that's been helpful to you. You can type in the box, or you can unmute. Do you have any questions, Shandilyn, behind that?
Can you hear me?
I can.
No, you pretty much pegged it.
Yeah. So it's pretty right on?
Pretty right on.
Okay. No questions?
No questions. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, just be who you are.
Well, I don't really have a choice, I don't guess, unless I figure out how to change me.
Have you, well, and don't feel like, because I did this for many years, I felt like my profile was a curse. Have you, what attracted you to real estate?
I had a friend that said, you would be so good at real estate. And they literally put me in their car and dropped me off at Wayne Morgan's door and got my real estate license. And I would probably be a good counselor. People love to talk to me. I mean, I don't talk that much, and people love to come to me and unload. And they're like, I just love talking to you. Well, yeah, it's because I just sit there and listen. And then typically I answer back with wisdom. So I could probably be a good therapist.
Yeah, but it's not just because you sit and listen. That's a misunderstanding. So because a lot of people think that, and like, for example, Lucas, he wouldn't talk very much either with his profile. Okay. But it's an energetic thing. So because you have a lot of people feel you energetically. Okay. So it's not just that you have good comments or that you're a good listener. Energetically, they feel safe around you. Does that make sense?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So as soon as they meet you, they feel immediately safe, and they feel like they've known you for a long time, and they feel that they can trust you.
Yes.
Yeah. So those are things that's a big plus that you have with your profile, is that you can gain immediate trust with people. On the other hand, your listing appointment might be a 90-minute one, versus Lucas could do one in 20 minutes. Does that make sense?
It does.
All right, cool. Well, thank you. Thanks for playing along with me. Yeah,
Appreciate
you bet. Okay, so let me see who's next here. Usually I have time to do about 4 of these. Oh, Charles is asking, Knolly, what profile is best for cold calling? For cold calling, if I was just to say this would be probably the absolute best profile, I would probably say a high D would be number one. And maybe like a DC would be good. Lucas wouldn't have a problem cold calling as a DS, but he may not come across warm and fuzzy, so he'd have to work on that. A person with an 11% I, they don't inherently know how to be fuzzy. Okay, so that's something that they have to almost pretend, if you will. Okay, but a high D is important for cold calls. Christy,
Knolly,
you do a
this
lot
is
of
Christy.
cold calls, huh?
This is Christy. I'm a
Yeah.
DCSI, and my profile looks just like Pamela's, and I'm having a hard time just getting that page. But my D is high. My C is probably about 1 or 2% below my D.
Uh-huh.
My S is right in the middle of the chart, just, like 50-50. And then my I am an analytical person, so my I is extremely low. It's probably 10%, if at that, because I'm a computer person and I love doing computer work, and I've gotten older, I don't want to deal too much with people.
Yeah.
And I used to be a people person, but like I said, as I've gotten older, I don't want to be around crowds. I just don't want to be around a lot of people.
Well, let's look at this. So if you have a 10% I, okay, you're not a people person. Okay.
No.
Now you might have been put in positions. What did you do before real estate?
I was a senior programmer analyst for a healthcare facility.
Okay, and then when you say you like to be around people, tell me more about that.
I said I used to be.
Like back then?
Before I got into the computer industry, I was a people person. I wanted to be around people. I was a people pleaser. And as I've aged, I've gotten to where I'm not quite the people pleaser that I used to be.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. So let me go back. So when you were a people pleaser, what did you do then? What did you do?
Well, as I was going through college to get my degree, I was very much a people pleaser. As a child, I was a people pleaser. I drew, people were drawn to me.
No, but I'm saying like
And
as a
whenever I
profession,
got
as a,
professionally,
yeah.
I was a stay-at-home mom professionally until I went into the computer industry.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So, and if you answered the questions correctly, Christy, then then see, your profile doesn't change. That's a misnomer. Now, some people
Okay.
might say, well, my profile has changed a lot, Well, the reality is we do change as people, but our profile is,
It shouldn't change at all.
I mean, if it does, it's because you were reprogrammed by somebody or some situation or some instance, or you were deprogrammed. Okay. So in other words, some people were programmed as children to be a certain way. And when they got away from that programming, they got into a sense of freedom. So they actually were able to deprogram and become who they truly are. Okay.
Okay.
Whereas other people might have been a certain way only because of certain circumstances. Like, for example, a stay-at-home mom might have to bring their eye very high. Why? Because they've got children. The children's friends come over. They're meeting the other parents. They've got parents' night. They have to. Okay. But the reality is, it doesn't mean that you hate doing it. It just means that if in a perfect world, a person that's a DCS, okay, would, with a 10% eye, would very much enjoy not having to be around people. Now all of us like to be around people to some degree,
right?
But your degree is you have a lower need for it than others. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah. And we don't want to look at it as right or wrong. Like, oh, I just don't want to be social. Well, you're not social. I mean, that's not how God wired you. He needed a computer analyst or somebody with those skills. And it doesn't matter if you were born 100 years ago or 200 or 300, you would still, your profile would find something to do. Even if we were hunter gatherers, okay, you would be the one that maybe collected all the berries and counted them, and made sure that they were maybe divvied out to all the people evenly and things like that. You see what I'm saying? Because,
right.
But you also, as a D, you could be a manager. Okay. So you can manage other people, but you wouldn't be touchy-feely about it. You'd be more just more systematic about that. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Well, whenever I do go to socials, I am a person that sits back and observes other people and their behaviors.
That's good. That's
I
where
do. I've noticed that. I notice that anytime I'm, especially if I'm at an event that I don't know anybody, I'm just not willingly going to go up and start a conversation with them. I will sit back and watch their behavior before I approach to talk to anybody.
Right. And that's just because you are very analytical, you're very calculating, and and this is what makes you great at doing contract to close, or doing your contract to close business. You dot your I's, you cross your T's. The C is for compliance. So you like rules, you like structure, you like to know what the rules are, you like to know where the gray areas are, where the black and white areas are, and so this is a very systems person. Okay. Now the CS is the systems person. The D is more of the person that's in control. So these people make phenomenal like executive assistants, for example. Like my role, if you were to say what would you be perfect at, and I'm basically a glorified administrative assistant. That's my perfect profile. So I said, well, heck, if I failed at everything else and I couldn't succeed in real estate anymore, I just go work for a billionaire and just manage his affairs, you know, or her affairs, you know, whoever it happened to be. So, so yeah, you found your passion, your calling. There probably were things that you can't very well be a stay-at-home mom and be going to parent-teacher meetings and having to meeting other, children's friends and stuff and be distant from people. Like you had to play along.
Right.
But now that you say that you're older, you don't have to play along. So what happens is when we no longer have to play the game, we naturally flow into who we are. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So now that we don't have to pretend or be or please anybody, like you probably could care less about pleasing anybody right now.
Yeah.
At this point, been there, done that. I'm going to be me. I'm going to do me now,
Right.
And I feel like, Christy, if more people could get this message when they're younger, to not to be ashamed of who you are and not to try to be anyone else, but just be you, and because you are unique. If you guys ever want to take this, did you have any questions around that, Christy?
No.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thanks for playing along with me.
Thank you.
When you guys take wealth dynamics, that's where you really take this and put it on steroids. It's a whole different level. And my coach, Artemis, he has a consultation, artemisprime.com. That's Artemis with 2 T's. I highly recommend it. You have to pay money for it, but I highly recommend it because that's where Nick was when he hired Artemis. Because he came to me and I was like, man, just get it done. I was telling him all the stuff to do, but he needed sometimes we just need a little bit, a different push. And so all this has happened for him within the last 90 days. So, okay, we're right at the top of the hour. We are out of time, but there's one more. I want to jump in here and do one more. So any of you guys that need to leave, that's fine. But I feel like I want to do Sonya's because she popped hers in. Pamela's asking, where do you find the percentages, like to get a report with the percentages? When you go into the Mentorship Masters portal, you'll be able to find that because let me just show you real quick. So you'll have to go into, let's go over here. Let me just show you real quick. It's easier to show you than to tell you.
I actually found it, Knolly.
Oh, you did find it. Okay. So anybody else that's those of you in Mentorship Masters, you can go right down here to, is it under tools and resources? Is this the right place? Where did you find it? Here it is. You cheated. You found a back door or what?
No, I just went back to the DISC survey online and read my results.
Oh, gotcha. And you found it there. Okay. So there's a little thing here where it says click to take the free DISC now. And for those of you that are not part of Mentorship Masters, if you're watching this on YouTube or something, you can go to 123test.com and it's /disc-personality-test. They have 20 different tests, and a lot of times people come in here and they take the wrong test. You can go down to personality test, and then you'll want to go to DISC personality, that one. So that's where you find that. And there was Pamela, you also were saying that I get this now. I was definitely programmed growing up, not sure what direction. Yes, so many people were suppressed and stifled as children that they never really got to express who they really are. For example, when I grew up in a house of abuse. So I was physically abused, verbally abused, mentally abused, spiritually abused. And so when you have that kind of duress, it can stifle the you that is you. Okay. So then you've got to figure out. So I didn't figure out who I really was till I was 19. And I was like, oh, and see, most people that they can't figure out who they really are, they just start to follow the crowd, or they start following this person or that person. But one day you got to wake up and say, hey, wait a minute. What do I like? I like wearing a cowboy hat. Well, hey, Knolly, that's not too cool. I don't care if it's cool. That's what I like. Okay. Well, what do you? I like wearing rings. I like wearing rings. I like to wear an earring in my ear. Well, Knolly, I don't think you should be wearing an earring on it. I don't care what you. I like wearing an earring. Something about it. I put it on. I just like the way it looks. So you learn to be you, if that makes sense. But a lot of times, childhood, people are stifled in their childhood, so they never version. Most people go their whole lives in the version of childhood that they learned when they were a child. So, for example, I was taught that I couldn't feel my feelings. So whenever I felt a feeling, bam, it's like, boy, stop, wipe that look off your face or whatever. And so I was like, oh, it's bad to feel. So I just got numb. I became numb when I was 9, 10, 11 years old. And so a lot of that has been for me deprogramming. Okay, so it's very important that you got that, Pamela. That's good. A lot of people are struggling with that.
Knolly.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, so I'm going to do one more, and then that's Sonya Williams. And I'm opening hers now. And let me make sure. Hold on, I opened two at the same time. So let me go back, make sure I got the right one. Okay, here we go. All right, let me share my screen with you guys. Okay, here we go. Sonya. All right, so Sonya is, she's a DCS with another low I. Okay, let's see. Wait a minute. Is this Sonya? This is exactly like this is like Christy's. Hold on, DCS with a low I. Okay. All right. So Sonya is 33% dominance, 33% compliance, 28% steadiness, and 7% influence. Okay. Now, if you notice, Sonya, you're a DCSI. Essentially, you're a DCS is what that really is. And so is Christy. So you guys are pretty much like twins, really. I'd love to see Christy's percentages, but again, just like Christy, you got the D at the top, so you're going to be very direct, okay, like a management type, okay, and then you've got the CS, so you're going to be really, really good with paperwork. You're going to be really good with anything administrative. Now, here's the pitfall. Somebody that's high on the CS, okay, and Karen Mendieta, she's probably somewhere in here because she's my neighbor and I know her. She's an accountant, okay, and so this person is going to be really, really, really good at the details. The problem is they're so good at the details that they don't hire help and they just do everything themselves because they feel like if they do it themselves, it'll be done right, it'll be done better. And even though that's true, Sonya, even though that's probably true, it will definitely be done right because you have compliance is your second one. So a person that's compliant is going to do it right. And S is steady. So your paperwork is going to be tight and right. The problem is, when you start to get busy in your career for a DCS, when they start to get really busy, they need to take that paperwork and hand it to someone else, even though they're perfectly suited to do the work. It's just not going to be dollar productive for them to be the one doing that work. Okay. So they're going to have to hand that over to a person like Christy here in our Mentorship Masters, who that's what she loves to do. She likes to do contract to close. Okay. Or you could pick an area in real estate that is more administrative in nature, which would be like REOs, working with investors, okay, do wholesaling, things that are really a bit more clinical and not so like you would not want to work with buyers at all. And if you're working with buyers, woo, I feel for you. Same thing with Christy. If you're working with buyers, I don't know. I just feel for you. You probably have to come home and unwind for a long time after showing houses for a few hours.
Well, Knolly, I am a very patient person. And I have worked with buyers. Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
DCSI.
Yeah.
This is Christy talking.
Uh-huh.
And I have been very patient. I had a client that was moving up this way from the coast, and she'd bring her daughter and 3 granddaughters, and they would follow me. And I'd always tell her, if you need to stop for anything, just let me know. And I tried to be just as patient as possible with her and her kids.
Yeah, you're going to be
Yeah.
patient because you have the CS going, okay?
Uh-huh.
And those people are very courteous. They're very, very patient. Your D keeps you very professional. But the problem is, since your I is low, okay, unless they're people that you like being around. So if you find them interesting, so this is the thing about a CS, is that when they find something interesting, they want to know more about it. If they don't find it interesting, they don't want to know anything about it. Nothing.
Right,
Okay?
right.
So if you find your clients interesting, you're going to want to work with them. But if you don't like being around them, you're not going to be happy being around them.
I'll refer them out.
I bet
Refer
you
them
do.
to somebody else. Refer them to somebody else. Because I would really like to work with sellers, but sometimes I get sellers that I don't even want to work with.
But honestly, and just like a doctor, having a doctor this profile, somebody that is a buyer that has somebody with this profile is going to kind of luck out, because a CS is very meticulous. They're going to tell you what schools, what the tax rates are. They're going to tell you all about everything, the neighborhood. I mean, they're very, very, very meticulous. But they only like to do what they're interested in doing and work with who they find interesting. Does that make sense? Yeah.
And I also, you were talking about us handing, we get real busy and us handing our paperwork over to someone else. That is very hard for me to do. I've tried it and I end up taking it back.
Right. And sometimes, for those of you, because you like doing contract to close and that's what you're doing as a business. But for those that don't, sometimes you just have to be comfortable with it being 80% right. Okay. So just like with me, there's things that I could do that I believe I could do them better than most people, but I have to be comfortable being, 80, having it done 80% is good. Not because remember, perfection is the enemy of progress. Let me say it again. Perfection is the enemy of progress. And this person right here, okay, is in analysis paralysis. Okay. They're a perfectionist. They want it to be perfect. And here's what you got to realize. It does not have to be perfect. I'm going to end on this because I think this is very important. I'm glad you brought that up, Christy, because a person that's a perfectionist believes that it has to be perfect. And here's how I tamed myself of that belief, because I'm a perfectionist also. We call it, analysis paralysis, perfectionism. But I looked and I said, you know what? Last year, 24,000 houses sold in my MLS. So if you have 24,000 sales, how many sides is that? Anybody? You
48.
48.
48 sales.
Yep, there you go. What's up, Sonya?
Hey, Knolly.
Hey, did you have any questions on yours?
I didn't. You got me head on. When I do work with a buyer, if they know exactly what they want, then I can work with them. But if they're having a problem with deciding, that's not my client.
That you ain't got no time for that. Like
exactly.
So thank you, Sonya. Appreciate you playing along with that. That's great. So that's 48,000 sides, okay, in our MLS. So my goal was to do 100 plus deals. So let's say my goal was 150. And that's a big goal, but you might have a smaller goal. It might be 40, 30, whatever. So are there other people out there selling houses? Yes. 48,000 transactions occurred. I want to do 150. So obviously, Knolly, you're not the only one that can sell real estate in Austin, Texas, are you? Well, I guess I'm not. Okay. So when you concede, Christy and Sonya, that you're not the only person that can do the job, Okay, you might do it better than like 48,000 of, all the thousands of agents. You might do it better than them, but they're still closing. Okay, and at some point, if you want to grow, you have to delegate. Okay, at some point when you want to grow, you have to delegate. Even you, Christy, you might end up with 3 or 4 processors that work under you because you have the profile of a manager. I could see that very easily. You might end up with 10 people. They might even be in the Philippines. I've got 4 people in the Philippines. 3 people. One's been working for me for 6 years. The other person's been working with me for 5 years, and they do a lot of stuff for me. Okay, couple of last comments. Tracy says, "Can you please post the Mentorship Masters login page? I'm already a member, but for some reason I can't find the login." Yeah, the login is here. I'll just paste it in here so you'll get it. It's mentorshipmastersgroup.com/login. So let me copy this. I'm going to paste it here for you. Okay, there it is. Copy that and you'll have it. Charles said, with all these low eyes, if we had a party, no one would talk to each other. That's too funny, Charles. Anyway, that's too funny. That is so funny. Sharonda, she says, "So what do you do when you want to avoid buyers, but someone sends you a buyer referral?" Charles, she says, "Charles, if there's alcohol at the party, I think I would change my personality profile." Yeah, and that's the thing. You might have to have a drink or two before you snap out of that shell. Okay, so what I would say, what I do when somebody sends me a buyer referral is I courteously talk to the person and just see if I'm interested. Okay, if I'm not, I know if I'm interested in them right away. Not right away, but I can ask them a few questions. Hey, what do you do? Where are you from? And you might find, Sharonda, that you're totally interested in this person. Like, it just really is like a cool person. Like you're cool with them. Or it might even be the type of person. I got to tell you, sometimes you find clients that are very similar to you. Like, I had one guy, he was an analyst. That was his job. I said, "What do you do?" He said, "I'm an analyst." I said, "What do you analyze?" He said, "My job is to find out where the wealth in the city is going." I said, "Well, how do you do that?" So he had these heat maps, okay, and he could tell based on all this data where in 10 years where the rich people would live. That's basically what he did. He worked for an insurance company, okay? Now this guy, he didn't want to, he was so antisocial, if we could use that word, that anytime he had a house that he wanted to look at, he would personally go by the house. He would inspect the neighborhood. He would do all the research, check out the schools, the everything. And then he'd be like, "No, I don't want to go see that one." I showed him like 2 houses ever. Okay. And, so you got to talk to him. Now, if you find out, Sharonda, that, "No, I really don't want to work with this person," then you just find somebody else for them to work with. That's it. Okay. Now you won't necessarily get anything out of the deal unless you do a 3-way on the split, but at least it would take it off your plate. So you make the courtesy call up front, talk to the person, and then you get to know them, and then you courteously say, "You know what? I've got a couple of things coming up, so I know my workload's not going to be able to accommodate you, but I've got a colleague," and then you just have somebody else work with them. I do that all the time. I will work with maybe 1 buyer or 2 a year. I just closed one last month that they went and found the house. They were like, "Hey, we're at the builder. You think you can stop by someday this week and sign the paperwork?" I was like, "Cool, no problem." I don't mind doing that. Hey, I don't mind. I can do that for you. Okay, I think I've answered all the questions, and that's it. So if this is always fun for me, guys, I know we went over just a little bit. You have to know who you are. In my view, in my opinion, you want to know who you are. Find out who your spouse is, or your partner, your loved one. Find out what they are, and you'll have a whole, even your children, find out what they are, and then you'll start respecting people more for who they are. You won't find them weird, like, oh, she's the weird kid, or my husband's so crazy, or my wife is, or my whatever. You'll actually be more tolerable of the different kinds of people that you not only have to work with, but that you live with. Okay, it's a marvelous science, a marvelous science. And Charles said, yeah, absolutely, that the wealth dynamics is like a whole new stratosphere. No, new stratosphere. Okay. Robert says he got to move to Austin. Come on, baby. What's up? Come on to Austin, Texas. You come into Austin, he says, what's your street address? Well, this is going on YouTube, so I won't say it here, but you're always welcome. Always welcome. All right. Love you guys. And I will see you again next week. Adios. Hit me up in Workplace if you have any questions.